Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology. We will be continuing from where we left off last time with the Ukraine campaign.
You're all aware of the increasingly aggressive posture the Russians are taking toward the Ukraine. Yesterday, elite Russian paratroopers seized a Ukrainian airbase outside of Odessa. According to the Russian government, they need the airbase to protect ethnic Russians in Crimea and eastern Ukraine. To complicate matters, Russian commandos seized the Ukrainian half of the jointly owned Black Sea Fleet. The President wants us to deliver a clear message. The U.S. will not allow the Russians to use its military might to resolve territorial disputes with Ukraine.
This is the real thing. The Ukrainians have asked us to scuttle every ship in their harbor flying the Russian flag. Your targets are 2 Krivak-class frigates and a Sovremeny-class destroyer undergoing routine servicing in the port of Sevastopol. Higher authority is calling this a surprise attack, so Russian air activity should be low. Keep your situational awareness up. It only takes one unseen MiG to earn yourself a nylon letdown.
And I love the reasoning that the Russians are doing this. They're protecting ethnic Russians. That's the same crap they were saying when they invaded Ukraine just a few years ago in Crimea, and when they took over Crimea then as well. So it's uncanny how close to the mark this game hit in terms of predicting history almost 20 years after this game came out. But in any case, port of call, USS Eisenhower, CVN 69. Date, April 10th, local time, 0500 hours. Weather, clear. Situation, the nationalistic Russian parliament has recently declared the Second Russian Revolution, a return to the glory days of the Soviet Empire. Russian military leaders are attempting to rekindle patriotic support for the reactionary government via bold actions and a general call to arms. In support of this propaganda effort, the Russians are reclaiming the Crimean Peninsula and the entire Black Sea Fleet, the ownership of which has been disputed since the breakup of the Soviet Union. Using crack VDV paratroopers and Spetsnaz Special Operations Forces, the Russians have captured 2 key airfields and forcibly seized several ships moored in the Sevastopol harbor. The latter act is partially symbolic, echoing the seizure of the Petrograd shipyards in 1917, the event that sparked the First Revolution, though it also puts to rest Russia's irritating dispute with the Ukraine over who owns the fleet. The U.S. has issued a strong warning. Abandon the ships and get out of Crimea before it's too late. The U.S. President has stated that he's willing to back up his words with force. Mission objective, the Ukrainians have called on the U.S. to sink any ships in the harbor flying Russian flags. 2 Krivak II-class frigates, a Sovremeny-class destroyer, and a number of Russian support tankers are currently under Russian control. Strike the ships with anti-ship missiles. Be careful not to harm any Ukrainian ships operating in the area. Order of battle, recommended aircraft FA-18D, recommended weapons AGM-84A, AGM-84E, threat suppression data, ground opposition, possible SAMs and AAA from Russian warships, air opposition, possible SU-27 flankers. So we'll be taking off from the carrier, hitting the Sevastopol harbor on the south of Crimea, and coming back. We see we've exited the Sea of Azov, probably a smart move, and we're in the Black Sea proper. Here we go. So I was debating doing this with the Tomcat and trying to spend as much time in the Tomcat as possible, but the problem with that is I don't know if I could like, this is barely enough, assuming your dumb bombs actually hit. And actually, I think the Tomcat should be able to mount this. There we go. I'm gonna say, I know they could use laser guided bombs. I don't know why it doesn't let you stick them on the fuselage. So, and we'd also have to put one of those on. Yeah. So we're gonna use the FA-18D just to be on the safe side, since they can also actually mount the harpoons. I don't know if they can mount as many as we're mounting, realistically, but in theory. And in reality, especially with the harpoons of the night that are 90s vintage, I would be hesitant to use them in a harbor setting, because unless like all the ships were hostile, because harpoons may, they might not necessarily attack the ship you want them to. They can't, really, they're simple in that you tell them to go to a point, then when they go active, they'll pick out the ship closest to them, I believe is generally how it works. And so in a crowded environment, they could end up picking the wrong ship, so you'd have to be very careful in setting the waypoint to, so it passes any ships that you don't want it to hit, but still activates in time to go after ships you do want to hit. And then, just the ground clutter in the background. I'm not sure how effective harpoons would be in this type of setting. But in this game, we don't have to worry about any of that, so we'll spool up.
Stand by.
Now, we only have a 50-mile radar with the F-16 here.
Cat 1.
Which is more than enough for us.
Inbound, 1 point Alpha, bearing 701, Angel 10.
So we'll just head out to Sebastopol right away and we'll load up harpoons. It is worth mentioning, in the original USNF 97, I believe you actually got to fly the C variant of the Hornet, which, is mostly identical to the D variant, except it's a single-seater, whereas in this we get a two-seater. And given that we'll be using the Hornet on ground attack missions, I think the two-seater is appropriate for us to use. So the harbor's directly ahead.
8 miles.
So we're going to climb high. We will not use our jammers just yet. We want them to, we don't want them to get too much warning that we're coming. Now, if this were more advanced, what I'd probably be doing is trying to do a left to right run and then setting the waypoints. So that way, using a narrow seeker just to try to
7 miles.
keep the harpoons from targeting anything we didn't want them to, but in this game we generally don't have to worry about that. So what we can do is we can unload right now. And we get a TV uplink or target display, which I don't actually know if the harpoons have that. It's kind of nice, but I think that might be more, for those of you who saw the AGM-84E, that's a land attack variant of the harpoon, and that one I believe might actually have a TV upload. So we have a harpoon going in super fast. And in this case, if he was using a wide cone, he could go for any of these ships. A narrow cone, depending on how close we activated, you might only go for these ships typically. I think the more advanced harpoons that have today might not have that same issue, but I wouldn't count it. There's the pop-up attack, which it uses to evade anti-aircraft fire from or point defense weapons from ships. I will say that's something I don't like about this game, is that ships do not shoot down incoming missiles. They have no anti-missile capability, and as it is, in general, I find that their anti-air defenses are pretty poor compared to what they should be. For the Russian ships, I guess it's somewhat realistic, since a lot of them actually have some pretty shitty anti-air defense systems, with the exception of like the Kirov class battle cruiser. I think the Slava class cruisers have some pretty good anti-aircraft defense. But like the Krivak frigates, the Serenity destroyers, they generally can only hit aircraft out from 30 miles or less, I believe, if memory serves.
Got him!
Okay. So now the Sacramento is a U.S. fast combat support ship. It's basically a supply ship designed to keep up with carrier battle groups and them. So I don't know why that's still. Well, I do know why they didn't bother to make any Russian support ships for the game, so they're just borrowing the U.S. ones. Ah, here we go. So, see, they did make Russian support ships. These Olmeka ships.
Miles.
Where's the Serenity?
Miles.
I want to take out the Serenity class destroyer next. Find them.
1 mile.
That might be it.
1 mile.
Okay, let's cheat a little here. So here's Quebec. That right there is just
20 miles.
Remedy. He's leaving the port.
20 miles. 19 miles. 19 miles. 18 miles.
We'll have our wingmen go after
That ship, your 12 o'clock club.
that ship.
Engaging.
And, I think that's a Kurov class ship there. That would probably take
I'm
all
taking a
missiles
shot.
to sink that. I can't actually see if it's
16 miles.
I can't actually see if that's Ukrainian or Russian. I would presume Russian.
16 miles.
No, it's Ukrainian. It's surprising. Oh, I know why they don't let you take a shot at it.
Deep drive.
There we go.
All right. Firing missile. Firing missile.
So now we're closer than I like. So now we'll throw on our jammers. And we'll fire a pair of missiles at this Remedy to start out with. Oh, okay. I figured he might be a 3-hitter, but... Now, we could, in theory, take out... I don't know if there's... Actually, I think there are no enemy targets. Well, I think the cranes might be Dutch. That's way outside our scope right now, so... I guess we're just gonna turn around.
Point Bravo, bearing 86.1, Angel 4.
Now, there are enemy makes, but we might just make it out of here. No, we aren't. We're making. There are makes there. They are not lighting us up yet, so let's turn off our radar, and we'll see if we can sneak out of here without them noticing us. It looks like they're about 30 miles away. There goes their fuel tank. Oh, I guess that was a movement. Now there's a fuel tank. Maybe he is. Here's F-14s from our fellow squadron controller. So, it looks like we managed to sneak out of there without taking on the Russians. Could we have taken them on? Yeah, but we also have to keep in mind we have limited stores for this whole campaign, so we want to save those as much as possible. So now I feel free to re-engage our radar, since now we're under the protective umbrella of our air group. Which the American ships also suffer the same problem, even worse, since, you know, the Ticonderogas have the standard series missiles, which those things have a really decent range, and that doesn't get shown off in this game. And so when you have to protect the group from, like, say, bombers, they won't assist you unless the bombers are flying directly over the air group, and they won't be able to shoot down any missiles that the bombers launch. So it's basically all up to you to keep them from launching in the first place. And by the 90s, when this takes place, the U.S. did have a pretty robust anti-ship missile capability, which recent events, I believe within the past year, I forget exactly when, but I know it was within the last year around December. Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen, who are currently fighting a war with Saudi Arabia, they fired some anti-ship missiles at a U.S. destroyer, and the destroyer shot all of them down. And that was basically the first real combat test of the Aegis battle system in terms of defending the air group. And granted, that tech is a bit newer than what's in the game, but it does show that we have a robust anti-ship missile capability with our destroyers, and you just don't see that in the game, which is a little disappointing. Is he landing? Because normally the carrier should be issuing us. Oh, he is. Okay. So we're going to break off, and we're going to let him land. And we're going to speed up load so we don't crash. Because things work really quickly in this game, much quicker than they would ordinarily. It's probably enough of a lead, as long as we dawdle a little bit. AN-74 Polars, those are Russian transports. I like how it immediately switches to combat.
Go right.
Okay, so now he's giving us
Go right. Go right. Go right. Go right.
So we just gotta be careful not to stall
Go
out
right.
here.
Go right. Go right. Go
Probably
right.
use a little more throttle. Not that much.
3 miles. Higher. Higher.
Maybe we do need that much. Just to
Higher.
keep from sinking too fast.
Higher. 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 Clear to left. Wind at 2 1 knot. Higher. Higher. Steady. Steady. Call the ball. On the ball. Lower.
Now we got a little.
Lower. Lower. Steady. Lower. Lower. Good landing.
Woo! Good landing. And on our second mission of the campaign, too, I will say the Hornet's really easy to land. I found that, just playing with the controls, it's very easy to get a good descent rate on that. So we might be seeing our best landings with the Hornet in this campaign. Let's see who else is landing. The Wingman's going to be landing. The Hawkeye won't land. He's not going to land for a while. I guess we'll just let our Wingman land. might be another F-14. So I would think they'd normally be in pairs, but... And we'll shut everything down. And he's closer than I'd like, but okay. And that is it. That is the mission. That was a fairly easy mission, even easier than I expected. But that will change. That will change. So let's go and end the mission real quick. Debrief. USS Eisenhower, CVN 69. Date April 10th. Mission Port of Call. Resolution success. Nice work. You made short work of those ships despite the fact that they were less surprised than we had hoped. Going up against well-armed ships proves the value of accurate standoff weapons. Yeah. As it was, we could see they were getting on a port, and that makes sense since the president did say, basically, get off the ships or we'll sink them. So, I mean, when someone says that, it's not really a surprise when they see aircraft heading toward them on the screen. We got 100% landing grade from that. Our wingman only got 40, so, yeah. Destroyed the 3 targets. So we took out a Serenity and a Krivak, and our wingman took out a Krivak 2. All of our missiles hit. And we'll repair the Hornet. And that's it for this mission. The reason I don't advance beyond this screen in the Ukraine campaign is because after you get this screen, it automatically launches into any cinematics for the next mission. So for this campaign, we'll be stopping at the aircraft repair screen. And that was a nice one. So tune in next time for our next operations against the Russians.